Okay, so we are going to talk about how to draw objects that are, let's say oddly shaped or, nothing simple like a cube or a cylinder. Okay, something that's got more of a distinct shape to it. Okay, so here's just a little dinosaur toy. And, your kid tried to do this thing where you kind of start on one spot, and let's say we start up here, and you're trying to trace the edge and get the form, and you end up doing a contour drawing. Okay, but that's a really difficult way to draw this. Not going to be as accurate. It's going to take you a lot longer. You're not going to be able to do this simple. Okay, so what you want to do is try to break things down into simple shapes. Okay, and what I mean by simple shapes is, let's look at this, like say this is maybe like an oval, or you could think of it like a box. And even when you draw the shape, it doesn't have to be exactly that perfect version of that shape. So let's say with the body here, okay? Like I said, I could treat it as like an oval, kind of an egg shape, or, again, maybe like a box. And so we're seeing a little bit of the underside, so, maybe we're looking at it like that. And then with the oval shape, we'll kind of add a little bit of a shadow. Okay, and so then what you do is you keep going and you try to figure out other forms there. So like that to me, kind of goes off at this angle, but really it's, it's kind of a cylinder. And even here, see, I'm kind of angling that off differently. So a little bigger on the bottom, a little skinnier at the top. Okay, and then for the head, well, we can kind of break that down into a couple of forms. I'm just going to do kind of let's just say, a circle or sphere is really what it is. And then the very tip here for the mouth, like a little cylinder, right? This would be good as a cylinder. Let's just say a curvy cylinder. Okay, and then now I'm going to make this bigger because again, this needs to be. Okay, so when we get to the tail again, I'm going to kind of draw a little angle and a curve here to show me where it goes. Yeah, let's get that larger. But yeah, let's see, a cylinder. Make it a little bit smaller at the bottom, a little bit wider at the top. And again, this is going to be kind of a curvy one. And then the legs, well, there's this big old muscle group here. And they go there. I'm going to kind of angle this to be like that. And again, just to keep it really simple for now, we're going to go with a little simple shape. So I'm kind of doing some cylinders here more than anything. I'm holding on to the other leg, and there's another leg back here. I'm not going to really try to draw it right now. I'll just stick to the stuff that's on the front. So again, here, sort of a circle for that shoulder. Again, I'll kind of do a little stick man version of the arm there. And like I said, we'll, you can break it down into like a box, or I just kind of like doing that as a cylinder. And then the hand, I'll maybe make that a little more boxy. Okay, so of course, this doesn't exactly look like what I'm, trying to draw here, but it does give you a good rough breakdown of the shapes. And so then, of course, as you're drawing this, then, I'd have to curve this out a little more, and then I round this out. Might even have to make it a little longer. Okay, go there, and then slope that down. The mouth has got more of a larger little mass and form there. Okay, But just getting the, the breakdowns or some kind of simple form makes it a lot easier for me to go back in and make some changes, because even here I can add a little more mass, kind of curve that in. And add a little more mass, actually kind of get the little pointy right there, and then slopes out real gradual. Okay, again, the arm. Change the shape. And so on and so on. So like, with the leg, again, I can look for little things here. The dinosaur's got some big calf muscles here. And so on and so on. So I can start shaping it, and of course start putting in other forms there. Yeah, it's probably more like right there. And adjusting things as I go. And the other reason I encourage you to use, simple forms, but three-dimensional simple forms, is that, by making a cylinder instead of just doing an outline, I'm already starting with a lot more volume. It feels a lot more three-dimensional. This a little bit further away, and it rounds out and shapes up. And so we know, like, this is further, this is a little closer. And so by doing those forms like that, what ends up happening is that you're already starting the drawing with a more three-dimensional approach. And as you keep working on it, then it's just that much easier to make it feel three-dimensional, because that's what you do with the drawing. It's flat. Like, no matter what, this is a flat piece of paper that you are trying to convince the viewer that it's three-dimensional. Okay, and you're not going to be able to make it three-dimensional, but you can make it appear that way. And so that's done through the forms, the shapes, and of course through value by describing light. And so if you describe light correctly, light and dark, we'll say it that way, then what ends up happening is it starts to look three-dimensional. Okay, and again, here I use some cylinders, but in this area I could have used like a box. You see there's more of a shadow here, so I could have done a form like this. And again, kind of shade it in, sort of like I was doing here, and then as I'm going back in and adjusting the shape, I can always kind of make this one a little more curvy. Okay, so any shape that fits, it doesn't have to be one specific kind. Sometimes, depending on what it is, like you might go a little more geometric, more of a cylinder, more of a sphere or an oval shape. It might be a cone, whatever works. Like here I just use cylinders, but I could have done a cone. Whatever works for you, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I got another one here. Okay. So that one's a little more geometric, and it's actually kind of easier. But if I'm going to be drawing this one, I'll do like a little miniature version of it here. Again, rather than trying to just get the whole shape and outline, break it down into sections. And so this one's actually nicely kind of color-coded for you. Again, like a little skinny cylinder. This could be kind of a cone, or you do a cone, and a second one, a cylinder. You got this ellipse here. This is more of like a cube shape, kind of a rectangle shape. And then, I'm really like here, I could just look for the empty space and, draw the whole thing, let's say first, and then kind of put back in the empty space. So I could go kind of an oval shape with a smaller oval on the inside. Then that would be the part that I'm kind of trimming out. So let's say with this one, again, this gun, right? It's not really a gun, I guess it's a drill. It's a toy drill. Again, I can kind of do a box for that. Okay, kind of a rectangle for this part here. Maybe slim it down a little bit, make it a little skinnier. And like I said, I could have kind of an oval shape way down here. And it doesn't have to be a perfect oval shape, but a larger one, and then I put a smaller one on the inside. And ends up looking kind of like a donut. Okay. Over here, this is like a really short cylinder, or we could say sort of like a hockey puck. Again, a little short cylinder. And of course there's a little second piece to it there. This is like a, and really it's an ellipse. It's like a really flat cylinder. And then again, another one here. And we'll keep it simple, but just kind of keep it as a straight cylinder. I know there's a little curve and dibble there. Okay, this one, maybe I'll draw that blue and orange part together. I said we'll make a cone. And then I can always go back in and break it up into two pieces. And then that little point, of course, that is just like a little skinny cylinder. And it's probably like that. And I'm just kind of eyeballing the proportions right now. Not trying to be too perfect with it. And so yeah, you know, some of my shapes aren't exactly the right size, but that's something I could pay more attention to as I keep working on this. And sort of like with the dinosaur, then yeah, this isn't that blocky. It actually kind of shapes and rounds. Okay, and there's a little, you know, fan there, so I can use a circle and then start putting in the little blades. And again, this one's probably a little bit more of a straight angle and then, you know, a little more squared out. What you can see is I go back in and kind of refine the drawing. You can always adjust the shapes a bit. So like this one's a little more pointy and round. Again, this has a little, you know, it's almost like a really short cone shape that you could put in here. And I just kind of remove the cone once I draw it, the top part of it at least. I'll bow that out and then let that slope and curve. And that's kind of it. So, you know, I guess I could, well, I'll put in that little trigger. And even this one, I could break it down to smaller shapes, but I think I'll just try to draw that one in there. But yeah, so anything that's, you know, more complex than say like a cylinder, you know, a soda can, a box, or you know, even just drawing like a basketball, any shape that's more complex. If you can break it down into multiple simple shapes and then just adjust them as you go on, it's going to be a lot easier. And again, your objects are going to start looking a lot more three-dimensional early on. And you know, you can see I didn't worry about the proportions too much here. Some things are off here. You know, the body's probably supposed to be a little bigger. This, you know, some of this stuff might be a little bigger on this this drill here, but just practicing that idea is good at first, and then as you continue to practice, you can of course practice on getting proportions better, getting the size of things better, and there's all kinds of other tricks for that too.